What's up guys, FlamingVictini here, and today I've got for you my World Cup semifinals game against Reiku. Now it's been a while since I played this game, but thanks to popular request on Twitter, I decided I was going to go back and narrate my semifinals and finals games of World Cup that I never got around to narrating. I had played SMOU in the previous 4 rounds, in the qualifying stage and in the quarterfinals, but my team needed me to move to ORAS, so I'm playing ORAS. And I'm going to be playing Reiku, who's representing Spain in the semifinals. Now, against Reiku, I thought a team with Gliscor could be pretty good. It tends to do pretty well against Raiku's types of builds, and Hazards as well tends to do pretty well against Reiku. So I built a team based around Gliscor and also to include spikes. So it's pretty a standardish build. It's like Pharaoh, Tran, Slowbro, Torn, Gliscor, Garchomp, pretty standardish stuff. And Raiku's actually using a pretty much offense team. I guess you could say it's a bulky offense team with Manaphy, Lopunny, Bisharp being the main presence, and he has his own spikes with Klefki. Sometimes you see this very similar team with Medicham over Lopunny, but I guess he maybe felt that I might be a little bit more offensive with my team, so that's why he decided to go with Lopunny. So, looking at this matchup, I think I have a pretty good shot at winning this game. I don't really feel threatened by much, other than maybe if I don't pressure that Manaphy well, and if it has HP Fire, it could get out of control. I have my Torn to check it, but if rocks are up, then I'll still die to a +3 Ice Beam. And it's going to be a little tricky to get enough chip on it, and if it has HP Fire, that could be really tough since my Ferrothorn is my main answer to it. The other main threat to my team is this Bisharp, and that's the thing I'm most worried about, because at +2 it is capable of sweeping my team. If he sets up Stealth Rocks, then in the future, every single time he goes to Bisharp, I'm forced to go into Gliscor or click a move that'll OHKO him if he chooses to go for Swords Dance, because if I bring in my Gliscor hard in on the Lando, the Lando sets up rocks, but if I bring in, let's say I let Bisharp get to SD and then it kills something off, then I go to my Gliscor, I'm going to be at 88% health, and that's going to put me in range of a +2 knockoff. I'm not really sure if he's Jolly or Adamant. I have enough speed to outrun Adamant, but not enough to outrun Jolly. So it's in my best interest that I activate my Poison Heal. That way when I switch in my Gliscor on rocks, I can heal that back up, and being at 100% health guarantees that I won't die to any hit from Bisharp, and from that point the only risk is a Jolly Ironhead flinch. But my goal before that is to just prevent Bisharp from setting up Swords Dance at all. So Bisharp can Swords Dance on my Ferrothorn, on my Tornadus if I choose that I need to save it and I switch it out. And as you'll see later on, Paralyzed Pokemon as well as Slowbro. Now, I do have a Mega Slowbro, and this is actually a very interesting Slowbro. I think it's Rest, Slack Off, Scald, Calm Mind. The reason being that my team would be very, very weak to Suicune without some set like that. But yeah, this Slowbro is also meant to beat Suicune and just check a lot of stuff. Anyway, so let's get right into the game. I decided to lead off with my Ferrothorn because I want to lay up those spikes right away. It hits everything on his team except for Latias and Lando, which I'm not too concerned about. And that chip damage is really, really nice. It helps a lot. I especially want that damage on Bisharp because it helps me put it in range of an EQ from Gliscor, assuming I get chip stuff like Iron Barbs or Rough Skin. So I don't need to depend on the Bisharp being like non-life orb, being life orb and dying to recoil if that situation arises. We trade spikes that turn, and I decided to go to my Heatran because I really want my rocks up. It maximizes how much damage I can really get from my hazards, and going for that second spike just lets him get up another spike, and it doesn't add that much value to me. I'd rather take this opportunity while his Klefki is in to get out my rocks. Now, he chooses to T-Wave me as I go for my rocks, and this is going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to affect my decision making a little bit, because I do have to be very wary about getting paralyzed. And in the worst case scenario, Reiku could try to go for an SD on my Heatran, and he's also going to try to Tail Glow with his Manaphy on my Heatran. He goes to his Manaphy right here. I'm just going to go for a safe Lava Plume in case he wanted to stay in to get up the third spike. And he just goes Manaphy. And right here, I could just go Ferrothorn or Tornadus, like Tornadus knockoff and then U-turn, or Ferrothorn and then go straight for a Power Whip. The thing is, I was really worried about HP Fire Manaphy, so I decided to risk the paralysis right here and go for a Toxic, because I am Protect Heatran with a lot of special defense investment, and with this Toxic, this allows me to really wear down the Manaphy, and my goal is to try to kill the Manaphy and not let it Healing Wish up, but if I need to, I want to minimize how many mons I lose to this Manaphy in order to force it to switch out and have to be Healing Wish back up. So I get off the Toxic and I go for a Protect. I think I might even I don't remember the calc on Surf, but I probably didn't live a Surf. But this is a very especially defensive Heatran, so I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but I'm probably not. Anyway, I go to my Ferrothorn as he goes for another Surf. The Toxic damage is definitely wearing him down now, and here I expected him to just go for an Ice Beam and kill me off. I decided to go for a Leech Seed, this way that if he wanted to switch out, this way I punish any switch. And again, I was really worried about Bisharp coming into SD on my Ferrothorn, since that was really the biggest threat to me. So that's why I didn't go for a Power Whip. In hindsight, going for a Power Whip probably would have made it easier to deal with this Manaphy. He does actually have Ice Beam, so I'm not really sure why he surfed again. Maybe he was worried that I would go back into my Heatran. But to me, the Ferrothorn was actually in some sense a liability, because it allowed Bisharp to set up on it. He does go to his Lando right here, and I'm just going to go for a knockoff. This was sort of like a suicide move, but I figured that if he like switches, it'll get some value out of it. I could have also gone for a Leech Seed. Now here I decide I want to save. See, I was considering going for a Leech Seed right here just to heal my Ferrothorn up and put some chip on this Lando, but it really wasn't worth it. And by going hard Gliscor right here, I ensure that I activate my my Toxic Orb, and he actually goes straight for an EQ, which is really nice and convenient. I actually have Ice Fang on this Gliscor to help with other Gliscor, and I actually get a flinch right here, which is convenient. He isn't able to set up rocks, and that helps me out with my Torn and my Gliscor a little bit. I don't think it would have necessarily been a huge outcome changer of the game, but it's definitely something that I can take and work with. So he goes to his Latias. Now right here, it's very obvious that he's gonna go for a Healing Wish, and even if he does attack, Torn is a perfect switch in for that, but if he Healing Wishes, he's going to be going to his Manaphy. So I want to go to something that'll really pressure that Manaphy out, and the Manaphy doesn't even get the leftovers recovery after that Healing Wish. So you can see with that Rocks and that Spikes and then it being forced to switch out right back again, it's going to be already down to 50% health the next time it comes back in, which is much easier to deal with than when it came in initially. So I just go straight for a safe knockoff. He goes to his Klefki. I'm fine with that. I'm going to go back to my Tran, because this is really my best answer to this Klefki. I want to make sure my Garchomp is looking to be a big threat upcoming, because once that Lando goes down, I can just spam EQ, but I don't want to go hard into it in case it's like Magnet Rise Klefki, or he goes straight for like a Foul Play or Play Rough or something like that. So Heatran's my safest bet, even though there's a slight risk of getting the paralysis and giving some setup opportunity. Now I feel a little bit more comfortable that my Gliscor has gotten that Toxic Orb, and rocks aren't even up. So he goes to his Lando, I don't get paralyzed, and I get off that Lava Plume, so I get to take him out. He goes hard to his Manaphy. I'm not going to bother playing with paralysis right here. I know because now now that he's weakened, I can just afford to go straight to Torn, just knock off, and then U-turn out. I knock off, this is the key, and because rocks aren't up, I'm very specially defensive invested. I'm able to tank that +3 Ice Beam, and I can just U-turn out, sack Ferrothorn, then go to Chomp or go back to Torn. He chooses to go to Lopunny right here. I'm not really sure why necessarily he wanted to save his Manaphy, but this is just a perfect time for me to bring in Garchomp and go for the EQ. The reason I didn't go to, say, Slowbro or something like that is because, again, I was really worried about that Bisharp, and I didn't want to go to Slowbro, not be able to kill it with Scald and not burn, and then find that, I think with 3 spikes up, my Ferrothorn dies, so I don't have Iron Barbs. I think even with Rough Skin and the Mega Slowbro Scald, I think I don't kill Bisharp, and I was really worried about that thing flinching my Gliscor with Iron Head and being jolly, so my goal was to prevent that Gliscor from getting up any sort of SD, and so Garchomp was the perfect play for that, because after he fakes me out, it's technically a range for him to get Sucker to kill me, but I have pretty good chances of living it. So this basically allows me to get 2 kills right here. I can just click EQ, he has to go back to his Lopunny, fake out again, and put me in range of Sucker Punch as I can take out the Lopunny. And because his Bisharp can't afford to SD on another EQ, of course, he has to Sucker Punch, which gives me the complete freedom to just go Gliscor and just click EQ. And I'm perfectly safe because he doesn't have a Swords Dance boost on under his belt, so he'd need to get 2 Iron Head flinches and be Jolly to beat my Gliscor. And even then, I could potentially play around with my Paralyzed Heatran, my Slowbro, which can Mega Evolve, and things like that, so I'm feeling pretty safe. It turns out that I'm actually faster than this Bisharp. I just go straight for an EQ and take him out, and he just goes to his Manaphy. It's almost dead. He goes for an Ice Beam. I actually live it, which I wasn't expecting, but yeah, Gliscor is pretty fat actually, and I just take out the Manaphy. So yeah, it was a pretty straightforward game. I think I had pretty good matchup just because of the virtue of having hazards and something dangerous like a Scarf Chomp and Torn, which tend to do good against offensive teams, and just having like a solid defensive backbone to answer basically everything except for that. Like, I basically had a good way of answering everything. Bisharp was the only potentially concerning thing, but it turns out it was adamant, meaning my Gliscor would have beaten it anyway, and I also played it in a way such that it would never get a setup opportunity. So, I mean, all in all, this game was pretty straightforward. There wasn't really that much to it, and I think really my team choice is what helped me come out on top of this match. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.